In Arabic, we have a saying, health is a crown only the ill recognize. When did this apply for you? Edit. PLS allow awkwardness for translation. Edit 2. I hope you all feel better or your situation gets better. Make sure to remember all the blessings you have in life. Merry Christmas. I've always been in not ideal health, but I've only had it twice where it was fully debilitating, and once when this saying applied. My right arm is fucked up TM from a nurse totally bunging up my fourth and never checking on me after I brought up that it didn't feel right. My bicep muscle is damaged, as are my nerves and tendons. I thought I was numb to being unhealthy before this, but this forced me to confront the luxury I'd been living with. Even if my stomach hated me, even if my body was in more pain than it could sometimes handle, even if my back limited me, I at least had control of my extremities. This injury totally changed that. I lose feeling in my hand sometimes, and had trouble with motor control at the beginning. There is nothing like the frustration and terror of not being able to hold something, of not being able to write or type. I was a gimp for over 8 months as my body did its best to repair what it could. I had constantly to curl my arm up and rest my right hand on my right shoulder because extending it all the way hurt so damn much. I was at a family reunion last August, about 6 or 7 months after the initial injury, when I was still in full denial of how bad it was. I couldn't pick up my cousins. They'd cuddle with me and want me to take them to bed when they fell asleep, but I couldn't. I had tried lifting an ice machine for my uncle and nearly dropped it when my arm gave out. I tried to help swing my littlest cousin, but nearly dropped her. I holed up in our trailer and just bawled after that. I had to confront how bad the injury was and how I'd probably never have full use of my arm again. It's been nearly 2 years at this point. I still am restricted in the use of my arm and it's no longer noticeably healing. Nearly no one outside my immediate family understand how utterly fucked my arm is. I look healthy, so people just assume I'm capable. Some of my managers at work just don't get that I physically can't do what they ask of me. I need a wheel drag to put clothes back because my arm can't handle the strain. I can't stay on a register the whole time because of some of the motions involved, like folding or bagging clothes. I can't help the customer carry too heavy items. Only one of my arms can accomplish it. My arm will give out. It will go numb. It will burn and tingle to the point of agony. I'm not being dramatic or useless when I hold firm to my limits or rest my arm against my body. If you describe vulvodynia, it sounds unpleasant, but not that bad. But let me tell you, it ruined my teenage years. First of all, I had no idea why I was in pain. Second of all, I did not have the vocabulary to describe the pain because I was young, I was shy, and the pain came in so many forms and was so localized, but I didn't have the words. I could not describe the areas that hurt since I didn't know what was what. Third of all, I had no idea what would cause the pain, so I just had to constantly anticipate that it could happen. If I shifted ever so slightly, pain. But then I could walk briskly and be fine, and then suddenly pain. I could breathe the wrong way, pain. I could stand up or sit down, pain. I could drop something and then have to pick it up, pain. I was in gymnastics. People were acting like I was just imagining my pain, and yet I had to stop doing gymnastics, which I loved. People talk about chronic pain all the time. It's very easy to dismiss it, but it's a whole other ballgame when all you want to be able to do is function like a normal person and you can't. All I wanted to do was be able to walk around and not have to worry about what will hurt, and not have people treat me like I'm being dramatic about it. It makes me angry to think back on. I was diagnosed with bipolar depression and schizophrenia at a young age, which, it is very rare to get a diagnosis so early. It has helped me in knowing what will happen as I get older, and it progresses, but it hasn't helped that much. My parents have refused to acknowledge it, and now, as I'm on my own, I can't afford any sort of medication. No doctor's appointments, etc. Apparently, at $8 an hour, I'm overqualified for the government insurance, America, if you haven't guessed, which is stupid, because I'm below the poverty line. Anyway, I've noticed the cracks are starting to show. My episodes have gotten more devastating, I've become more paranoid, and I've been thinking some very horrific thoughts lately. Also, doing simple things has become extremely difficult and frustrating for me. Not sure about why that's happening though. I feel like I'm running out of time. Not to mention my toes are slowly going numb. Gee, I just feel so bad sometimes watching all the other 18-year-olds enjoy their teenage immortality. I can't even get these paragraphs to read in a sensical way. Had chronic lifelong episodes of nausea. In 2017 I decided to never leave. Oh boy did I miss the good old days when even water didn't make me sick. Lost 15 pounds unwillingly and was already scrawny, so now it was bad. Got poor people insurance cause Murica. Got treated and can now eat just fine sans some food intolerances and a bit of a low appetite. Food makes me excited again. To get as much nutrients in as few bites as possible. I've learned a lot about what the body needs and what it does with stuff you eat. Cool stuff that many of us disregard when shoveling whatever down the hatch. Also learned malnutrition can happen even if not skinny, or even if you eat enough calories. I have overactive lymph nodes in my neck, and once a decade, generally, I get a golf ball sized tumor in the side of my neck. I had one removed at 7 and another removed at 19. When I went to the doctor I asked him what the chances were that it would end up to be cancer. He told me to think of it as 50/50 and that he wouldn't know until he removed it. At 19, I genuinely started thinking, what if I have cancer? Will I endure chemo, or will I live the remainder of my young life to the absolute fullest? It was the first time I realized that I could be sick with more than just a cold. Suddenly I wasn't invincible. I've taken much better care of myself since then, and made sure that my family knows what decision I will make if the next one that grows is cancer. When I was in high school, 14, telling my best friends I was going on homeschool because my immune system was so compromised I was having virtually never-ending bouts of flu, colds and bronchitis. We don't know what happened, but my immune system just failed me, and I couldn't stop getting sick with endless fatigue and pain. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome around 16, but my current doctor is reevaluating that because there is so little known about it, and there is no cure in sight. I'm seeing a cardio right now, but I think we'll just return to chronic fatigue syndrome in the end. I'm applying for disability now because it's gotten so bad with IBS and chronic migraines that I can't work. I want my life back. I wanna be a normal 25-year-old. Instead, I'm 90% housebound. My intestines closed up in high school when I was 14. Took 6 months to be diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Then no medication worked for me. Doctors eventually told me I would need surgery, and I was going to the hospital for 7 to 10 days before surgery. In the hospital, they told me insurance didn't want to pay for my surgery. I remember thinking I would just starve to death. Excruciating pain and vomiting anytime I tried to eat. I weighed about 80 pounds and my normal weight is about 115 pounds. I eventually had surgery after a month in the hospital, and they removed a foot of my intestines. It was life-saving, but I never forget the pain I felt, or the torture that being hungry was. Never take your health for granted. I work as a kinesiologist and have a variety of clients, from kids to adults, clinical and high performance. Very often I see their health as the thing they are the most willing to sacrifice for their achievements and goals, then learn a bit late that health is the most difficult thing to claw back after decades of neglect. Those of you that are waiting for your New Year's resolution to make changes, I implore you to make the change now, and let it be the best gift you give yourself. You don't need to tie these goals to New Year's or other arbitrary dates. That's a great saying. It applies to me all the time. I have EDS third, a connective tissue disorder that has a wide range of severity with characteristic scarring. hypermobile joints, and stretchy skin, and live with chronic pain and chronic fatigue. It most applied to me when I had dislocated both my knees and was hobbling around on a cane and had to wear a wrist brace on that wrist because the cane was making my wrist want to dislocate. I also recently messed up my bad ankle and my bad hip again. I was really resentful of other people's health, especially when older people say, "Oh, it all gets worse with age." I never got to be truly fit and healthy, so I get really sad when people are complaining they got old. It also applies to my mental health. I have an eating disorder and I'm really resentful that other people are allowed to lose weight and diet and do disordered things, but I'm not. Around the time I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at age 3, over a week or two, following a plane flight where my parents took us to visit relatives in Chicago, I caught some sort of flu bug, and eventually when I got home it appears my immune system attacked the insulin producing cells in my pancreas. First extremely low blood sugar episode got me a few days in the hospital, and since then I've needed insulin injections to survive. Anytime I see some post-apocalyptic zombie movie and see somebody raiding a pharmacy, it hits me that I'd likely be among the first to die.